Oh, hi there, it's Professor D. I was just reading this book, getting ready for our class this week. And I was just looking at the discussion board posts, and it really is evident to me from your different responses that you already notice that the school system as it is now in the United States may or may not be meeting the developmental needs of students. So, in focusing on child development theory as the forefront of class, and now thinking about how lesson plans and standards are designed, you may notice they do or do not work to accommodate the needs and developmental phases of our students. That may already be problematic for you or troublesome in your mind. And we know that that can be true, especially for ourselves as learners. And now we can start to think about how that might be true also for many of our future students. So that leads us from a discussion of this sort of big introduction inquiry. We looked at the lesson plans from a variety of sort of spaces and formats and noticed there's things in common and then some things that aren't. And that'll be a big piece of what we do this semester. But the next piece, after we've sort of noticed that lesson plans have a very specific design, they're standards based, there are learning goals, and that child development is sort of the backdrop for how we design a lesson session. Now we have to think about something a little more complex, which is equity. And that's what I was reading about. Paul Gorski does an amazing job as an author talking to teachers, practitioner to practitioner, about what is and isn't best when it comes to equity and differentiation. So we know children have different developmental needs, but we also know that children have different responses to the schools they're in, the context of the classroom, their relationship with their teachers, or whatever might be going on in their growth or for them as a person that year. So there's a lot more variables than just cranking out lesson plans and making really great bulletin boards and having an inviting classroom. There's a lot more what you guys were calling kind of the behind the scenes of teaching, or the nitty gritty of teaching that some of you mentioned in Flipgrid, that you want to know more about. Well, here's the secret, and I'm going to read from Gorski because he gives us a really great point that we should hold on to from now till the rest of the semester. And he says, although easy practical solutions might be convenient, they also can do damage. Often they shift the equity responsibility onto the student, focusing on fixing students' mindsets or grittiness instead of addressing the conditions that require some students to be more resilient than others. They are simple and straightforward, and unfortunately often more a reflection of inequity than a challenge. And what he means by that are any solutions like, hey everybody, this curriculum's great, it's going to fix everything. Or hey everybody, this computer iPad system's going to make all the kids learn math the best forever and ever, the end. Or hey everybody, this SEL program's really going to teach kids how to be resilient and stick to it and pull up their bootstraps and study harder. He's warning us about that kind of mentality and helping us think that maybe it's more about us and how we design lessons, how we understand student learning and child development, and how we address the equity issues of a broken school system. We know school systems are not necessarily set out to treat every student the same. That's a very difficult place to be and work. So we need to think critically about that as we work through the way we design things for our students' learning. What else does he say? Well, we're going to find out in lab, because I'm going to bring this book, scan some chapters for you, and have you read along too in a few case studies that help us think about social justice and diversity while we are also thinking about great lesson design, motivation, and racial justice, culturally responsive pedagogy, and engagement do go hand in hand. We live in a time period where we can no longer ignore those realities and those identities and experiences. So how do we as teachers take all of that in and create not only cool classrooms and great bulletin boards and friendly spaces, but effective and safe, caring environments for students. That's our mission. Welcome to Module 2.